Well, don't say I don't love and cherish my fans, because this one's a bit of a fan request. Because the fan that requested this wanted me to talk about the constant usage of Neptune as an amnesiac plot point / twist or whatever. People are tired of this cliche in Neptunia. But here's the thing. The more I play these games, I noticed that it's not actually that common in the Neptunia-verse. The only games that have the amnesiac setting are Rebirth 1, the original, Super Neptunia RPG, and possibly Super Dimension Neptune vs. Sega Hard Girls if you count Sega. Which, she's not even really entirely amnesiac in that game either. With the advent of Triple Vtunia, there's 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, 8 games, 9 games, 10 games, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games. Looking at my trophy list right now, I've counted a total of 16 games in the Neptunia-verse, in the Neptunia franchise, and only 4 of them that I know of. Rebirth 1, Super Dimension Neptune vs. Sega Hard Girls, maybe. The original Neptunia, so that makes 3. There's only 4 of them out of 16 that actually feature this trope that people are supposedly tired of, that is supposedly being used too much. That means only a quarter of the games of this series are built on some form of amnesiac trope. Do remind me if there's some sort of element in Victory / Rebirth 3, but I'm pretty sure there isn't. So here's the thing about cliches, okay? Cliches are when tropes are overused. And yes, the Neptunia fanbase can be a bit exasperated of said cliche. But this trope of main character drives the plot forward based on amnesia trope is actually not that very overused in Neptunia as a franchise. It does get used in a couple of other Compile Heart games, but the context of the request was Neptunia. Here's the thing. I neither like it nor hate it. I think it's when it comes to Neptunia, it's actually one of the better tropes that they use to drive the plot forward. Keep in mind, I use the phrase one of the better, particularly that phrase itself, because some of my most liked versions of Neptunia, in fact, I'm pretty sure every single amnesia plot idea, all of the amnesiac plot ideas that drive plots forward are all featured in some of my most favorite games. The original, Rebirth 1, Super Dimension Neptune vs. Sega Hard Girls, if you count that, and Super Neptunia RPG, all of those are games I fucking enjoy. So, unfortunately, I can't say I can come to the same conclusions of exhaustion with the trope in of itself, and I can't really call it a cliche at this point. I mean, if you're only like a quarter of the entire series, you can't really call that a cliche. Keep in mind that's a subjective take, and if you feel like a quarter is too much, then feel free. I'm not going to judge you, but I'm just going to say that I'm not actually really that upset about the whole amnesiac trope plot device. I mean, I fucking hated the isekai one a lot worse. I'd say either the amnesiac one or the isekai one in Victory, or anything related to Mega Tag Mention. Those were probably my least favorite, and those are the ones I actually have a problem with. But in regards to the whole amnesiac trope, I can't necessarily say that I actually hate it, especially since it's not being used by everything. I mean, I even prefer it over like the Start for Fairy Fencer F. Some of the ones I liked the least either featured some form of isekai trope or whatnot. I just don't think that this whole amnesiac thing is necessarily a problem. I mean, I can get why people are tired of it, don't get me wrong. Especially since the way each game is timed. Each game that features it has a distinct time of release, and to where it's chronologically enough to be hated on and be considered a tired old trope, but in like a mathematical quantity sense it's not. But I can at least understand when you look at the release chronology that it might. So I'm not going to rip on people for saying, I'm not really a fan of this, it's overused, because in a sense it does have the illusion of being overused. However, mathematically speaking, I can't necessarily say that it's overused, or used ineffectively, or used too much. I mean, 4 out of 16, that's 25% of the time. It's hardly a cliche. But I will say this, people are kind of tired of Neptunia reusing the same aspects. Let's see, Triple Vtunia is coming out in the West next year around end of February, March March-ish, and I gotta say, it's looking pretty damn good. So I can't necessarily say I'm not gonna really have any problem with the whole amnesiac trope here. But if you hate it, that's fine. I mean, it's cool. Everybody has their own taste. I just have a bit of dissonance when I came to thinking about with discussion in regards to this. Because the more I look at it, the more I scroll through all my trophy lists, #NepGod, the more I realize that the only reason why this trope is so prevalent is the chronological release of each game that features it. So with that in mind, I can't necessarily say I hate it or that I think it's overused. So I do apologize if you were expecting me to rip on the trope, because I get it, people are tired of it, but the more I look at it, the more I'm in the position of advocacy, because it's like, I get why people hate it, I also get why I don't hate it, I get why people say it's overused, but I also see it differently. So keep in mind, if you are talking about this and commenting in the chat section, please do consider keeping it respectful. I know I'm not exactly the best example of that sometimes in the chat, the comments, whatever you want to call it, but as long as by the end of the day, that in the throes of passion, you can at least respect the differences in opinion, then yeah, absolutely. But until then, feel free to enjoy this hot take here, because this is clearly a hot take. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Like the video if you haven't already, subscribe if you are new, click the bell and select all to be notified more of my content, and consider following me at my Twitch channel at OneManCast. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm One Man. I'm gonna head on out.